This is the Render to Bitmap tutorial in Scilab. In today's example I'm going to show you how to create a high quality bitmap as well as a small sample bitmap which would be perfect for emailing a proof to your customer. So before we begin, I'm just going to toggle my fill off by hitting Alt-S so that you can see that I am in fact working with a piece of line art. So with that being done, I'll toggle my fill back on by hitting Alt-S. I will go to the edit menu and choose select all. So now with my file selected, I can go to the transform menu and select render to bitmap, which opens up the smart bar at the top. So we'll want to set our color depth to full color, which is the equivalent of a 24-bit bitmap. I have my resolution set to 200 dpi. The default resolution of 75 renders a very poor bitmap, and I find that 200 does a fairly reasonable job. The only thing that we have to contend with is a fairly large file size, but there's nothing really we can do about that except persevere. Moving on, you'll want to make sure that Keep Original is selected. We'll be editing that in a minute or two. And you'll want to make sure that Add Margin is not selected. Really the only time you'd want to use that is if you had a different colored background other than white and you wanted to render it with a border around the bitmap. So I'm going to go ahead and click Apply. And I'll go ahead and click yes, and this might take a minute, so just wait patiently. Okay, now that our bitmap has been rendered, I will pull it off and select my original copy. So this here is my bitmap and my original file. So I'll just back out here, and I'm going to turn my fill off so you can see the difference between the two. So here we have our original, and here we have our bitmap. And I'll toggle my fill back on. And now I'm going to select my original file. I'm going to show you how to create a small sample bitmap. So before I get to that, I'm going to want to scale this image down somewhat. So I'll go to my object width, and I'm going to want to set it to approximately 10 inches. And the reason being, customer can print it out on a legal size piece of paper, no problem. So I will go ahead and click enter. And because this is the only piece of the file that we're working with, I'll hit F7 to zoom in. Having done that, I can go to my File menu. Normally we would publish this to a PDF document, but for this example let's assume that the customer isn't familiar with PDF, so we're going to export it and render it to a JPEG image to email it out. So we'll want to select Export Image, and that opens up the Export Image Render to Bitmap dialog. So again, we'll want to set our color depth to full color and our resolution to 200, and go ahead and click OK. And that should open up the Save dialog now. So I would save this as hiddenmeadows.jpg. I already have a previous file saved, so I'm just going to go ahead and click Cancel. However, you guys can type in hiddenmeadows.jpg and click Export. So I'm just going to go ahead and click Cancel. And that brings us to the end of this tutorial.